Johto holds a special place for many Pokemon fans, remembered for its peaceful towns, quiet routes, and the feeling of exploring a world that feels both ancient and full of discovery. In this journey, we'll take a closer look at some of the Pokemon that call this region home. Chikorita is a grass-type Pokemon introduced in Generation 2 and is one of the 3 starter companions offered to trainers beginning their journey in the Johto region. At first glance, Chikorita resembles a small, pale, green, dinosaur-like Pokemon with a rounded body, short legs, and a large leaf growing from the top of its head. Its design appears simple, but the Pokemon contains many small details that connect it closely to nature and plant life. One of the first things many people notice about Chikorita is the large leaf attached to the top of its head. This leaf is not simply decorative. It plays several important roles in the Pokemon's daily life. The leaf acts as a sensor that allows Chikorita to detect changes in temperature and humidity in the surrounding environment. When the air becomes warmer or cooler, the leaf may tilt slightly in response. The leaf also allows Chikorita to sense nearby movement. Subtle air disturbances caused by moving objects can be detected by the leaf, allowing the Pokemon to notice approaching Pokemon or trainers, even when they are not directly visible. Another interesting feature of Chikorita involves the gentle aroma released from the leaf. The leaf produces a sweet scent that spreads through the air when the Pokemon waves it slightly. This scent has calming properties and can soothe those nearby. Other Pokemon may feel more relaxed when the aroma is present. Because of this ability, Chikorita is sometimes described as having a peaceful influence on its surroundings. Another subtle design detail involves the small bead-like structures around Chikorita's neck. These rounded shapes resemble seeds or buds from a plant. Although they appear decorative, they reinforce the plant-based theme that defines Chikorita's design. The arrangement of these beads also gives the Pokemon a distinctive silhouette. Another fascinating aspect of Chikorita involves its connection to sunlight. As a grass-type Pokemon, Chikorita relies on sunlight as a major source of energy. When standing in bright sunlight, the leaf on its head absorbs light and converts it into energy that the Pokemon can use. This process is somewhat similar to photosynthesis in plants. Because of this connection to sunlight, Chikorita often prefers open, grassy areas where light can reach the ground easily. Another interesting behavior associated with Chikorita involves the way it relaxes during warm weather. The Pokemon sometimes lies down in grassy fields while raising its leaf toward the sun. In this position, it can absorb energy while remaining calm and comfortable. During these moments, Chikorita appears peaceful and content. Another subtle design feature involves Chikorita's large red eyes. These eyes are positioned slightly toward the sides of its head, allowing the Pokemon to maintain a wide field of vision. This helps it detect movement around it while grazing or resting. The bright red color also creates a strong contrast against the green body. Another interesting detail about Chikorita involves its short but sturdy legs. Although the Pokemon is not known for high speed, its legs allow it to move steadily through fields and forest clearings. The legs are well suited for walking across soft soil or grassy terrain. Chikorita's walking style tends to be calm and deliberate. Another observation involves the smooth texture of Chikorita's skin. The Pokemon's body appears sleek and slightly glossy, reflecting light in a subtle way. This smooth surface may help reduce water loss while standing in warm sunlight. Another fascinating aspect of Chikorita involves its temperament. The Pokemon is widely known for having a gentle and friendly personality. It often approaches others calmly and rarely behaves aggressively without reason. Because of this temperament, Chikorita has historically been a popular starter partner for trainers who value cooperation and patience. Another interesting detail about Chikorita involves its cry. The sound produced by the Pokémon is soft and cheerful, often resembling a light chirping tone. When several Chikorita gather together, their calls can create a quiet chorus that echoes through grassy fields. Another subtle feature involves the Pokémon's nose. Chikorita's nose is small and rounded, positioned just above its mouth. The nose allows the Pokémon to detect the scent of nearby plants or berries that may serve as food. This strong sense of smell helps Chikorita locate fresh vegetation. Another fascinating behavior associated with Chikorita involves its role within forest ecosystems. The Pokémon sometimes helps maintain plant growth by spreading seeds as it moves through grassy areas. Seeds may cling to its body or be carried along the ground as it walks. This movement allows plants to grow in new locations. Another interesting detail involves the way Chikorita interacts with other Pokémon. The species often gathers in small groups where individuals graze together peacefully. These gatherings may occur in sunny clearings where grass grows thick and healthy. Another observation involves Chikorita's posture. The Pokémon often holds its head slightly upward while standing still. This posture allows the leaf on its head to catch sunlight and detect air movement at the same time. Another subtle design element involves the gentle curve of Chikorita's body. The smooth, rounded shape makes the Pokémon appear calm and approachable. This design helps reinforce its friendly personality. Another fascinating aspect of Chikorita involves the way it reacts to strong winds. When wind moves across a field, the leaf on Chikorita's head may sway dramatically. The Pokémon sometimes adjusts its position so the leaf faces the wind directly. This behavior allows it to sense changes in the environment. Another interesting detail about Chikorita involves its diet. The Pokémon primarily feeds on grasses, leaves, and small plant shoots found throughout the Johto region. Because it eats vegetation, Chikorita often spends long periods grazing peacefully in open fields. Another observation involves the way Chikorita interacts with trainers. The Pokémon forms strong bonds with those who care for it. Once trust is established, Chikorita often follows its trainer closely and responds quickly to instructions. This loyalty makes it a reliable partner. Another subtle design feature involves the shape of Chikorita's tail. The tail is short and rounded, extending only slightly from the back of its body. Although small, it helps balance the Pokémon while walking. Another fascinating aspect of Chikorita involves the historical inspiration behind its design. The developers wanted a grass starter that looked gentle and friendly while still clearly connected to plant life. The leaf and seed motifs were chosen to represent natural growth. Another interesting observation involves the Pokémon's preference for peaceful environments. Loud noises or chaotic situations may cause Chikorita to retreat slightly until things become calm again. However, once the environment becomes quiet, the Pokémon quickly returns to its relaxed behavior. Within the ecosystems of the Johto region, Chikorita likely serves as a peaceful herbivore that contributes to plant growth and seed distribution. Its calming scent and gentle personality also influence the behavior of nearby Pokémon. Somewhere in a quiet grassy meadow, beneath the warm sunlight of the Johto region, a small green Pokémon may be standing calmly among the plants. The large leaf on its head sways softly in the breeze while it watches the world around it. Quiet and peaceful, the gentle Chikorita continues resting among the tall grass as sunlight filters across the meadow. Cyndaquil is a fire-type Pokémon introduced in Generation 2 and is one of the 3 starter partners offered to trainers beginning their journey in the Johto region. At first glance, Cyndaquil resembles a small quadrupedal Pokémon with a slender body, short legs, and a long pointed snout. Its overall shape is inspired by animals such as echidnas and anteaters, which gives the Pokémon a distinctive silhouette compared to many other fire-type species. One of the most recognizable features of Cyndaquil is the set of flame vents located along its back. When the Pokémon feels calm or relaxed, these vents remain closed and appear as smooth spots along its spine. However, when Cyndaquil becomes excited, frightened, or prepared for battle, bright flames erupt from these openings. These flames can burn intensely. The fire produced by Cyndaquil is generated from internal heat stored within its body. When released, the flames create a protective barrier that discourages attackers from approaching too closely. Another interesting detail about Cyndaquil involves its nose. The Pokémon has a long, narrow snout that resembles the snouts of animals that specialize in finding insects hidden underground. Although Cyndaquil does not exclusively eat insects, this snout design suggests a strong sense of smell. Cyndaquil often lowers its nose close to the ground while exploring. This behavior helps the Pokémon detect scents carried through the soil or grass. Another subtle design feature involves the smooth texture of Cyndaquil's body. Most of its body appears sleek and slightly glossy, especially when light reflects off its blue upper surface. This smooth skin allows the Pokémon to move easily through grass or brush without getting caught on vegetation. The pale underside contrasts with the darker blue top half. This color contrast makes Cyndaquil visually distinctive even at a distance. Another fascinating aspect of Cyndaquil involves the flames along its back. These flames vary in intensity depending on the Pokémon's emotional state. When the Pokémon is calm, the flames may appear small and gentle. When the Pokémon becomes excited or determined, the flames grow larger and brighter. This visible change provides a clear indicator of the Pokémon's mood. Another interesting observation involves Cyndaquil's eyes. The Pokémon has narrow eyes that are usually closed when resting. In many situations, Cyndaquil keeps its eyes partially shut, which gives it a calm and relaxed appearance. However, when it becomes alert or focused, its eyes open wider. This shift in expression makes it clear when the Pokémon is ready for action. Another subtle feature involves Cyndaquil's ears. The ears are small and rounded, positioned toward the back of its head. Although they appear simple, they are capable of detecting quiet sounds in the environment. This hearing ability helps the Pokémon remain aware of nearby movement. Another fascinating behavior associated with Cyndaquil involves the way it sleeps. The Pokémon often curls its body into a compact shape while resting. In this position, its back vents remain closed, and the flames disappear completely. This resting posture helps conserve energy. During sleep, Cyndaquil appears calm and peaceful. Another interesting detail about Cyndaquil involves its body temperature. Because it is a fire-type Pokémon, its internal temperature remains slightly higher than that of many other species. When the flames along its back ignite, the surrounding air may become noticeably warmer. This warmth can sometimes be felt even from a short distance. Another subtle design element involves Cyndaquil's small feet. The feet are rounded and padded, allowing the Pokémon to move quietly across the ground. These pads also help absorb shock when the Pokémon jumps or runs. Although Cyndaquil is not known for extreme speed, it can move quickly when necessary. Another observation involves the Pokémon's tail. Cyndaquil's tail is short and pointed, extending only slightly behind its body. While the tail does not appear large or dramatic, it helps the Pokémon maintain balance while walking or turning. Another interesting aspect of Cyndaquil involves its diet. The Pokémon primarily feeds on small insects, berries, and plant material found throughout the Johto region. Its long snout helps it sniff out hidden food sources among grass and fallen leaves. Because of its diet, Cyndaquil often spends time exploring grassy areas. Another subtle detail involves the Pokémon's flame color. The flames produced by Cyndaquil often appear bright orange, with hints of yellow near the center. This coloration reflects the high heat generated by the Pokémon's internal fire. The flames sometimes flicker rapidly when the Pokémon moves. Another fascinating behavior associated with Cyndaquil involves its defensive instincts. When startled, the Pokémon may immediately ignite the flames along its back. The sudden burst of fire can surprise potential attackers. This defensive display helps protect the Pokémon from threats. Another interesting observation involves Cyndaquil's cry. The sound produced by the Pokémon is soft and slightly high-pitched, resembling a small chirping call. When several Cyndaquil call out together, the sound echoes gently through forests or fields. Another subtle feature involves the way Cyndaquil reacts to cold temperatures. Because of its fire abilities, the Pokémon is comfortable in cooler environments. When temperatures drop, the flames along its back may ignite briefly to generate warmth. This ability allows Cyndaquil to remain comfortable in many climates. Another fascinating aspect of Cyndaquil involves its calm personality. The Pokémon is often described as gentle and somewhat shy. It may approach new situations cautiously until it feels safe. However, once it trusts its trainer, Cyndaquil becomes more confident. Another interesting detail about Cyndaquil involves its relationship with sunlight. Although it does not rely on sunlight as strongly as grass-type Pokémon, warm sunlight can still provide comfort. Cyndaquil may sometimes rest in sunny areas. Another observation involves the way Cyndaquil moves through tall grass. The Pokémon often lowers its body slightly while walking through vegetation. This posture helps it remain hidden from potential predators. Another subtle design feature involves the pattern along Cyndaquil's back. The small vent openings appear evenly spaced along the spine. These vents allow heat to escape safely from the Pokémon's body. Another fascinating behavior involves Cyndaquil's curiosity. The Pokémon often investigates unfamiliar scents or sounds with interest. It may approach slowly while sniffing the air. This curiosity helps it explore its surroundings. Another interesting aspect involves Cyndaquil's role within the ecosystems of the Johto region. As a small predator of insects and gatherer of berries, the Pokémon helps maintain balance among smaller species. Its presence also discourages certain predators due to its fire abilities. From a development perspective, Cyndaquil was designed to be a fire starter that felt friendly and approachable rather than intimidating. The developers wanted a Pokémon that looked small and calm, but still possessed powerful fire abilities. The smooth design and gentle posture help achieve this balance. Somewhere in a quiet clearing surrounded by tall grass and trees, a small blue Pokémon may be resting peacefully on the ground. Its eyes remain closed while faint warmth spreads from its back. As the breeze moves through the clearing, the calm Cyndaquil quietly enjoys the warmth of the Johto sunlight. Totodile is a water-type Pokémon introduced in Generation 2 and is one of the 3 starter partners offered to trainers beginning their journey in the Johto region. At first glance, Totodile resembles a small blue crocodile with a wide mouth, short limbs, and a playful personality that is immediately noticeable. Its design is simple but memorable, and the Pokémon quickly became known for its energetic behavior and powerful jaws. One of the most recognizable features of Totodile is its large mouth filled with sharp teeth. Even though Totodile is still a young Pokemon at this stage of its life cycle, its teeth are already strong and capable of delivering a powerful bite. These teeth are used both for defense and for capturing food. Totodile's bite strength is one of its defining characteristics. The Pokemon often bites down on objects simply out of curiosity. This behavior can sometimes surprise trainers who are unfamiliar with the species, but it is a natural instinct for Totodile. Another distinctive feature of Totodile involves the red spines located along its back. These triangular spikes run from the top of its head down to the base of its tail. The spikes add texture to the Pokemon's design and help create a strong silhouette. Although they appear sharp, these spikes are not primarily used for combat. Instead, they may help protect Totodile from attacks aimed at its back. Another interesting detail about Totodile involves the yellow pattern located across its chest and jaw area. This pattern contrasts with the blue color of the rest of its body and gives the Pokemon a bright and expressive appearance. The yellow markings also help highlight the shape of Totodile's large mouth. Another subtle design feature involves Totodile's eyes. The Pokemon has bright red eyes that stand out clearly against its blue skin. These eyes are wide and expressive, often reflecting the Pokemon's energetic mood. When Totodile becomes excited, its eyes appear especially lively. Another fascinating aspect of Totodile involves its playful personality. Unlike some starter Pokemon that behave cautiously, Totodile tends to approach the world with enthusiasm. The Pokemon enjoys running, splashing in water, and exploring its surroundings. This playful behavior often leads Totodile to leap around energetically. Another interesting behavior associated with Totodile involves its love of water. As a water-type Pokemon, Totodile is extremely comfortable in aquatic environments. The Pokemon often spends time swimming in lakes, rivers, or ponds throughout the Johto region. In water, Totodile becomes especially agile. Its strong tail helps propel it forward, while its legs steer through the current. Another subtle feature involves the shape of Totodile's tail. The tail is thick and muscular, giving the Pokemon powerful swimming ability. When Totodile moves through water, the tail swings side to side in smooth motions. This movement generates the force needed for forward motion. Another observation involves the small claws on Totodile's hands and feet. These claws help the Pokemon grip slippery surfaces, such as wet rocks or muddy riverbanks. The claws also assist when digging through soil or grasping objects. Another interesting detail about Totodile involves its sense of curiosity. The Pokemon often approaches unfamiliar objects with interest, sometimes biting them gently to investigate. This habit reflects the natural behavior of many reptile-like animals that explore the world through touch and pressure. Another subtle design element involves Totodile's short legs. While these legs are not built for long-distance running, they provide strong support when the Pokemon leaps or lunges forward. Totodile frequently jumps excitedly while moving across land. This bouncing movement is part of its playful nature. Another fascinating aspect of Totodile involves the way it reacts to battles. When preparing to attack, the Pokemon often crouches slightly before launching forward with a powerful bite or splash of water. This quick burst of movement allows Totodile to surprise opponents. Another interesting observation involves Totodile's cry. The sound produced by the Pokemon resembles a cheerful roar mixed with a playful shout. The cry often echoes across lakes or rivers when the Pokemon is active. Another subtle detail involves Totodile's posture when resting. The Pokemon sometimes sits upright with its tail curled slightly behind it. In this position, it may watch its surroundings calmly, while occasionally opening its mouth in a relaxed expression. Another fascinating behavior associated with Totodile involves its reaction to sunlight. The Pokémon often enjoys resting on warm rocks near water while sunlight shines across its body. During these moments, Totodile may appear completely relaxed. Another interesting detail about Totodile involves its diet. The Pokémon primarily feeds on fish, insects, and small aquatic creatures found in freshwater environments. Its strong jaws allow it to capture prey quickly. Totodile often waits patiently before striking. Another observation involves the texture of Totodile's skin. The skin appears smooth but slightly tough, providing protection against scratches or minor injuries. This durability helps the Pokémon move safely through rough environments. Another subtle design feature involves the placement of Totodile's nostrils. The nostrils are positioned near the top of its snout, allowing the Pokémon to breathe while most of its body remains underwater. This adaptation helps Totodile remain hidden while hunting. Another fascinating aspect of Totodile involves its energy levels. The Pokémon rarely stays still for long periods of time. Even while standing in place, Totodile may sway slightly or shift its weight from one foot to another. This constant movement reflects its lively personality. Another interesting detail involves Totodile's relationship with trainers. The Pokémon tends to form strong bonds with those who train it regularly. Once trust is established, Totodile becomes extremely loyal and eager to help. Another observation involves Totodile's reaction to rain. The Pokémon often becomes even more energetic during rainy weather. Rainwater collects in puddles and streams, creating opportunities for the Pokémon to splash and play. Another subtle feature involves the way Totodile uses its tail while standing. The tail sometimes presses against the ground to help maintain balance. This behavior helps stabilize the Pokémon when it leans forward. Another fascinating aspect of Totodile involves its role within the ecosystems of the Johto region. As a small aquatic predator, the Pokémon helps regulate populations of fish and insects found in rivers and lakes. Its presence contributes to the balance of freshwater environments. From a development perspective, Totodile was designed to represent a playful, aquatic predator that still appeared friendly and approachable. The developers combined crocodile-inspired features with exaggerated expressions to create a Pokémon that looked both powerful and cheerful. The result is a species that stands out among water starters. Somewhere along the edge of a clear lake in the Johto region, a small blue Pokémon may be splashing happily in the water. Its wide mouth opens in excitement, while droplets scatter across the surface. Full of energy and curiosity, the lively Totodile continues exploring the waters of Johto with endless enthusiasm. Furret is a normal-type Pokémon introduced in Generation 2 and represents the final stage of the evolutionary line that begins with Centret. At first glance, Furret resembles a long-bodied mammal similar to a ferret or weasel, with smooth fur, rounded ears, and a slender shape that allows it to move easily through narrow spaces. Its design emphasizes flexibility and agility, and its elongated body makes it one of the more recognizable Pokémon from the Johto region. One of the most noticeable features of Furret is its extremely long body. Unlike many Pokémon with compact builds, Furret's body stretches out in a smooth curve from head to tail. This long shape allows the Pokémon to move fluidly through tunnels, burrows, or dense grass without becoming stuck. The body structure is highly flexible. Furret can twist and turn easily while navigating narrow spaces, making it well suited for life in underground tunnels or forest undergrowth. Another distinctive detail about Furret involves the pattern of stripes along its body. The Pokemon's fur alternates between light cream and brown bands that run horizontally across its body. These stripes help break up the outline of the Pokemon when viewed from a distance. In grassy environments, the striped pattern can blend with shadows and vegetation. This camouflage helps Furret avoid predators while traveling through open areas. Another interesting feature involves Furret's fur texture. The fur appears soft and smooth, forming a thick coat that protects the Pokemon from cooler weather. Because Furret often travels close to the ground, its fur also protects it from scratches caused by rough plants or stones. The fur around its neck and tail is slightly thicker than the rest of its body. Another subtle design detail involves Furret's small, rounded ears. These ears are positioned high on its head and allow the Pokemon to detect faint sounds nearby. Furret often relies on its hearing while traveling through tunnels or tall grass. Even quiet movement can be detected by the Pokemon's sensitive ears. Another fascinating aspect of Furret involves its method of movement. While it can walk normally on 4 legs, Furret is also known for standing upright on its hind legs. In this upright position, the Pokemon uses its height to scan the environment for potential threats or opportunities. When standing tall, Furret's long body stretches vertically. This posture provides a clear view across grassy fields. Another interesting observation involves Furret's tail. The tail is long and flexible, matching the length of its body. This tail plays an important role in maintaining balance while the Pokemon moves quickly. When running or turning sharply, the tail shifts to counterbalance the body. This movement helps Furret maintain stability even at higher speeds. Another subtle feature involves Furret's nose. The Pokemon has a small rounded nose that allows it to detect scents in the environment. Furret often lowers its head close to the ground while exploring new areas. This behavior helps the Pokemon track food sources or identify nearby Pokemon. Another interesting detail about Furret involves its diet. The Pokemon primarily feeds on berries, small insects, and other plant material found in forest environments. Its sharp teeth allow it to chew through tough berry skins or dig up small insects hidden beneath leaves. Because of this diet, Furret often spends time foraging along forest floors. Another fascinating behavior associated with Furret involves its tunnel building habits. In many parts of the Johto region, Furret lives in underground burrows. These burrows may extend several meters beneath the ground and contain multiple chambers. The tunnels provide protection from predators and harsh weather. Furret's long body allows it to move through these tunnels with ease. Another interesting observation involves the Pokemon's social behavior. Although Furret can live alone, small groups sometimes share a network of tunnels. These groups may cooperate while searching for food or maintaining their burrows. When several Furret travel together, they often move in a line across the ground. Another subtle design element involves Furret's eyes. The Pokemon has large dark eyes that allow it to see clearly in dim lighting. This ability is helpful when moving through tunnels or exploring shaded forest areas. The eyes also give Furret a friendly and curious expression. Another fascinating aspect of Furret involves its alert posture. When the Pokemon senses something unusual, it may stand upright on its hind legs while raising its head. In this position, Furret can observe its surroundings more clearly. If danger appears nearby, the Pokemon quickly drops back to all fours and runs. Another interesting detail involves Furret's running ability. Despite its long body, the Pokemon is capable of moving quickly across open ground. Its legs move in a smooth rhythm while the tail helps maintain balance. This combination allows Furret to travel efficiently across fields and forests. Another observation involves the way Furret reacts to strong winds. Because of its flexible body, the Pokémon can lower itself close to the ground when wind becomes strong. This posture reduces the chance of being pushed off balance. Another subtle design feature involves the way Furret curls its body while resting. The Pokémon sometimes coils its long body into a circular shape while sleeping. This position helps conserve body heat. When curled up, Furret appears compact and comfortable. Another fascinating behavior involves Furret's curiosity. The Pokémon often investigates new objects found within its territory. Shiny stones, fallen branches, or unusual scents may attract its attention. This curiosity helps Furret learn about its surroundings. Another interesting detail about Furret involves its cry. The Pokémon produces a soft chirping sound that echoes quietly across grassy areas. When multiple Furret call out together, the sounds blend into a gentle chorus. Another observation involves Furret's grooming habits. The Pokémon regularly cleans its fur by licking and smoothing the coat with its paws. This grooming keeps the fur free from dirt and debris. Clean fur also helps maintain its camouflage pattern. Another subtle feature involves the shape of Furret's paws. The paws are small but strong, allowing the Pokémon to dig through soil while building tunnels. The claws help break apart loose dirt. Another fascinating aspect of Furret involves its role within the ecosystems of the Johto region. As a small omnivore, the Pokémon helps control insect populations while also spreading seeds through the environment. Seeds carried in its fur or dropped during travel may grow into new plants. This movement contributes to the balance of forest ecosystems. From a development perspective, Furret was designed to resemble real-world mammals, such as ferrets and weasels. These animals are known for their long bodies and curious personalities. The developers used these characteristics to create a Pokémon that felt natural within forest environments. Somewhere along a quiet forest path in the Johto region, a long striped Pokémon may be standing upright among the tall grass. Its ears twitch slightly as it listens to the gentle sounds of the forest. Alert and curious, the watchful Furret continues exploring the peaceful landscapes of Johto. Noctowl is a normal and flying type Pokémon introduced in Generation 2 and is widely recognized as one of the more intelligent bird Pokémon found in the Johto region. At first glance, Noctowl resembles a large owl with brown feathers, broad wings, and a pair of distinctive horn-like tufts above its eyes. Its calm posture and focused gaze give it a wise and observant appearance, which reflects the Pokémon's reputation for patience and awareness. One of the most recognizable features of Noctowl is its large eyes. The eyes are bright red and positioned at the front of its face, allowing the Pokémon to maintain excellent depth perception. This forward-facing eye placement is typical of many predators that rely on accurate vision when hunting. Noctowl's eyesight is extremely strong. The Pokémon is capable of seeing clearly, even in very dim lighting conditions. Because of this ability, Noctowl is primarily active during the nighttime hours when many other species are resting. Another distinctive detail about Noctowl involves the feather pattern surrounding its eyes. The feathers form a circular shape that resembles a mask or pair of spectacles. This pattern highlights the Pokémon's eyes and gives it a focused and intelligent expression. The design also helps make Noctowl easily recognizable among other bird Pokémon. Another interesting feature involves the pair of feather tufts located above Noctowl's eyes. These tufts resemble small horns, though they are actually clusters of feathers that extend upward. The tufts contribute to the Pokémon's alert silhouette and may help with visual communication between individuals. Another subtle design element involves the color of Noctowl's feathers. The Pokemon's body is covered in shades of brown and tan, with lighter feathers along its chest and underside. These colors allow Noctowl to blend easily with tree bark and forest shadows. During the day, when the Pokemon rests quietly in trees, this camouflage helps conceal it from potential threats. Another fascinating aspect of Noctowl involves its silent flight. Like many owls, Noctowl's wings are specially adapted to reduce noise while flying. The edges of its feathers are slightly serrated, which helps break up air turbulence as the wings move. This design allows Noctowl to glide through the air almost silently. Prey animals often do not notice the Pokemon approaching until it is already very close. Another interesting observation involves the size of Noctowl's wings. The wings are broad and powerful, allowing the Pokemon to stay airborne for extended periods of time. While hunting, Noctowl often glides slowly across the sky while scanning the ground below. This gliding motion conserves energy. Another subtle feature involves the Pokemon's feet. Noctowl has strong talons that allow it to grasp branches or capture prey. The talons are curved and sharp, providing a secure grip when landing on tree limbs. The talons also help Noctowl carry objects during flight. Another fascinating behavior associated with Noctowl involves the way it hunts. The Pokemon often perches quietly on a branch while observing the ground below. When it detects movement, it spreads its wings and glides downward silently. This hunting strategy relies on patience and precision. Another interesting detail about Noctowl involves its hearing ability. In addition to excellent vision, the Pokemon also possesses highly sensitive hearing. The shape of its facial feathers helps direct sound toward its ears. This allows Noctowl to detect movement even when it cannot see clearly. Another observation involves Noctowl's neck flexibility. The Pokemon can rotate its head to observe a wide area without moving its body. This flexibility allows Noctowl to scan its surroundings efficiently while remaining still. Another subtle design detail involves the feather texture along Noctowl's chest. The feathers in this area are softer and lighter than those on its wings. This soft feather layer helps insulate the Pokemon against cool nighttime temperatures. Another fascinating aspect of Noctowl involves its calm personality. The Pokemon tends to behave patiently and rarely moves without reason. This calm nature makes Noctowl appear wise and thoughtful. Because of this personality, some trainers view Noctowl as a symbol of knowledge and observation. Another interesting detail involves the Pokemon's cry. Noctowl produces a deep hooting sound that echoes through forests during nighttime hours. This sound may be used to communicate with other members of its species. The hoot can travel across long distances. Another observation involves Noctowl's resting habits. During daylight hours, the Pokemon often sleeps in tall trees or quiet forest areas. While resting, it may close its eyes and tuck its head slightly downward. This position helps conserve energy. Another subtle design feature involves the way Noctowl folds its wings while resting. The wings wrap neatly against its body, creating a compact shape that resembles a bundle of feathers. This folded posture helps maintain balance while perched. Another fascinating behavior associated with Noctowl involves its territorial awareness. The Pokemon often patrols the same area each night while flying above forests or fields. During these patrols, it watches for unusual movement. Another interesting detail about Noctowl involves its diet. The Pokemon primarily feeds on small animals such as insects, rodents, and fish. Its silent flight and sharp vision allow it to capture prey effectively. Another observation involves the Pokemon's role within the ecosystem. By controlling populations of small animals, Noctowl helps maintain balance within forest environments. This role makes it an important predator in the Johto region. Another subtle feature involves the smooth motion of Noctowl's wings during flight. Each wing beat is controlled and steady, creating a graceful movement through the air. The Pokemon rarely rushes while flying. Another fascinating aspect of Noctowl involves its connection to nighttime environments. The Pokemon seems most comfortable under moonlight when the forest becomes quiet and calm. During these hours, Noctowl becomes active and alert. Another interesting observation involves the way Noctowl observes its surroundings from high vantage points. The Pokemon often chooses tall branches where it can see large sections of the forest floor. From these positions, it quietly watches the world below. From a development perspective, Noctowl was designed to represent the mysterious beauty of nocturnal birds. The developers wanted a Pokemon that felt calm and intelligent while still clearly connected to nature. The owl inspiration helped achieve this goal. Somewhere high in the branches of a quiet forest tree, a large owl-like Pokemon may be watching the ground below. Its bright eyes glow softly beneath the moonlight as the wind moves through the leaves. Silent and patient, the observant Noctowl continues its nightly watch over the forests of Johto. Ledyba is a bug and flying type Pokemon introduced in Generation 2 and is commonly found in grassy fields and forest edges throughout the Johto region. At first glance, Ledyba resembles a small red ladybug with black spots across its shell, small wings, and a round body shape. Its cheerful appearance and cooperative behavior have made it one of the more recognizable insect Pokemon in Johto's ecosystem. One of the most noticeable features of Ledyba is the pattern of black spots located across its red shell. These spots resemble the markings found on real ladybugs, which are insects known for their bright coloration and beneficial role in gardens. The red color of Ledyba's shell contrasts strongly with the black spots, creating a pattern that is easy to recognize. This bright coloration may serve as a warning to predators. Many insects use bright colors to signal that they are unpleasant to eat or capable of defending themselves. While Ledyba is not especially dangerous, the strong coloration may still discourage certain attackers. Another distinctive detail about Ledyba involves its wings. Beneath the red shell covering its back are a pair of transparent wings that allow the Pokemon to fly. These wings move rapidly when the Pokemon is airborne, producing a soft buzzing sound as it travels through the air. Although Ledyba's wings are small, they allow it to glide easily between plants and flowers. Another interesting feature involves the Pokemon's antennae. Ledyba has two thin antennae extending from the top of its head, and these antennae play an important role in sensing the environment. The antennae allow the Pokemon to detect subtle changes in air movement and scent. These signals help Ledyba locate food sources, such as pollen or nectar. Another subtle design element involves Ledyba's large eyes. The Pokemon's eyes are wide and dark, giving it a curious and gentle expression. These eyes allow Ledyba to see clearly in daylight conditions while navigating through fields of flowers. The eyes also help the Pokemon detect approaching threats. Another fascinating aspect of Ledyba involves its social behavior. Unlike many bug Pokemon that live alone, Ledyba often gathers in large groups. These groups may consist of many individuals flying together through grassy areas. When several Ledyba gather, they sometimes create synchronized flight patterns. This cooperative behavior helps the group remain organized while searching for food. Another interesting observation involves Ledyba's reliance on teamwork. When a single Ledyba becomes weak or injured, other members of the group may gather around it and help support it. The group sometimes shares food or warmth with struggling individuals. This cooperative instinct makes Ledyba one of the more social bug Pokémon. Another subtle feature involves the shape of Ledyba's body. The Pokémon's body is round and compact, which helps it maintain balance while flying. The smooth shell protects the delicate wings folded beneath it. Another interesting detail about Ledyba involves its feet. The Pokémon has 6 small legs that allow it to cling to plant stems, leaves, or flower petals. These legs provide strong grip despite their small size. Ledyba often rests on leaves while feeding on plant nectar. Another fascinating behavior associated with Ledyba involves its feeding habits. The Pokémon primarily consumes nectar and pollen collected from flowers. This diet provides the energy required for flight and daily activity. While gathering nectar, Ledyba may also help pollinate plants. This makes the Pokémon an important part of many forest and meadow ecosystems. Another observation involves the way Ledyba flies during calm weather. The Pokémon often moves gently through the air while following the scent of flowers. Its flight pattern appears smooth and controlled. When wind becomes stronger, however, Ledyba may struggle to maintain stable flight. Another subtle design detail involves the underside of Ledyba's body. The underside is lighter in color than the red shell, creating contrast that highlights the round shape of its body. This color contrast also helps make the Pokémon visually distinctive. Another fascinating aspect of Ledyba involves its reaction to sunlight. The Pokémon is most active during bright daytime hours, when flowers are open and nectar is plentiful. During these hours, groups of Ledyba may be seen flying across fields. At night, Ledyba usually rests quietly on plant leaves. Another interesting detail about Ledyba involves its cry. The Pokémon produces a soft, buzzing chirp that resembles the sound of small wings beating rapidly. When many Ledyba gather together, the combined sound creates a gentle humming tone across flower fields. Another observation involves the Pokémon's defensive behavior. Although Ledyba is not particularly aggressive, it may attempt to defend itself by swarming together with others of its species. A large group of Ledyba can confuse predators. Another subtle feature involves the texture of Ledyba's shell. The shell appears smooth and slightly glossy, reflecting sunlight when the Pokémon moves across open fields. This glossy surface helps protect the wings folded underneath. Another fascinating behavior associated with Ledyba involves its habit of gathering warmth from sunlight. The Pokémon may rest on leaves with its shell facing upward to absorb heat from the sun. This warmth helps energize the Pokémon before flight. Another interesting observation involves the Pokémon's sense of direction. Ledyba appears capable of navigating accurately across wide fields while searching for flowers. Its antennae likely play an important role in guiding these movements. Another subtle design element involves the shape of Ledyba's spots. The spots are arranged evenly across the shell, creating a symmetrical pattern that gives the Pokémon a balanced appearance. Another fascinating aspect of Ledyba involves the way it communicates with other members of its group. Small wing movements and antenna gestures appear to signal directions or changes in movement. This silent communication helps maintain group coordination. Another interesting detail about Ledyba involves its role within Johto's ecosystems. By feeding on nectar and pollinating plants, the Pokémon contributes to the growth of flowers and vegetation throughout the region. This ecological role helps maintain healthy plant populations. Another observation involves Ledyba's curiosity. The Pokemon may occasionally approach unfamiliar objects placed within its territory. Bright colors or interesting scents can attract its attention. From a development perspective, Ledyba was designed to reflect the friendly and helpful reputation of ladybugs in real-world gardening cultures. Ladybugs are often seen as beneficial insects because they help control pests. The developers used this inspiration to create a Pokemon that felt gentle and cooperative. Somewhere in a bright meadow filled with wildflowers and warm sunlight, a small red Pokemon may be flying quietly between blossoms. Its wings buzz softly as it searches for fresh nectar among the petals. Surrounded by drifting pollen and gentle summer wind, the peaceful Ledyba continues gliding through the flower fields of Johto. Lanturn is a water and electric type Pokemon introduced in Generation 2 and is commonly found in deep ocean environments across the seas surrounding the Johto region. At first glance, Lanturn resembles a large blue fish with a rounded body, wide fins, and a glowing orb attached to a thin antenna extending from its head. This glowing light is one of the most distinctive features of the Pokemon and plays a central role in its behavior and survival in dark underwater environments. One of the most noticeable characteristics of Lanturn is the glowing sphere located at the end of the antenna on its head. This orb produces a steady light that shines through dark ocean waters. The light is created through a chemical reaction within the Pokemon's body that generates electrical energy. This glow allows Lanturn to navigate in deep water where sunlight cannot reach. The ocean depths are extremely dark, and many species living in these areas rely on their own light sources to survive. Lanturn's glowing antenna acts as both a lantern and a signal for communication. Another interesting detail about Lanturn involves the antenna itself. The thin, flexible structure that holds the glowing orb is capable of moving in several directions. This movement allows Lanturn to position the light exactly where it needs it. When the Pokemon swims through dark water, the antenna may sway gently. This motion causes the light to drift through the water in a soft glow. Another subtle design feature involves Lanturn's rounded body shape. The Pokemon's body is built for steady movement through water rather than high speed. Its wide body allows it to maintain stability while swimming through strong currents. The shape also helps the Pokemon conserve energy while traveling long distances underwater. Another distinctive detail involves the yellow underside of Lanturn's body. The bright yellow color contrasts with the deep blue upper half of the Pokemon. This contrast creates a pattern that helps the Pokemon blend with both the dark depths below and the faint light above. When viewed from above, the blue back blends with the dark ocean water. When viewed from below, the yellow underside blends with faint light filtering from the surface. Another fascinating aspect of Lanturn involves the electricity generated within its body. The Pokemon produces electrical energy through specialized organs that convert chemical energy into electric power. This electricity powers the glowing antenna and can also be used in defensive situations. The electrical current generated by Lanturn can travel through water easily. This ability allows the Pokemon to stun nearby threats if necessary. Another interesting observation involves the size of Lanturn's fins. The Pokemon has large fan-shaped fins that extend from its sides and back. These fins provide excellent control while swimming slowly through deep water. Instead of making rapid movements, Lanturn often glides smoothly through the ocean. This slow movement helps conserve energy. Another subtle feature involves the shape of Lanturn's eyes. The Pokemon has large, oval-shaped eyes that allow it to see clearly in low-light conditions. These eyes are well adapted for deep ocean environments where visibility is limited. The eyes can detect faint movements in the surrounding water. Another fascinating behavior associated with Lanturn involves the way it uses its glowing antenna to attract prey. Small fish and aquatic organisms are often drawn toward light sources in the deep ocean. When these creatures approach the glowing orb, Lanturn may move closer and capture them quickly. This hunting strategy is common among deep-sea species. Another interesting detail about Lanturn involves the strength of its light. The glow produced by the Pokemon can sometimes be visible from long distances underwater. In extremely dark conditions, the light may appear like a floating star beneath the surface. Because of this effect, some ocean travelers have described seeing mysterious lights moving through the sea at night. Another observation involves Lanturn's swimming patterns. The Pokemon often travels in calm, steady movements rather than sudden bursts of speed. Its fins move slowly, while the tail provides gentle propulsion. This relaxed style of swimming suits its deep water lifestyle. Another subtle design element involves the smooth texture of Lanturn's skin. The surface of the Pokemon's body appears sleek and slightly reflective, which reduces friction while swimming. This smooth surface allows Lanturn to move efficiently through water. Another fascinating aspect of Lanturn involves its relationship with other deep-sea Pokemon. The glowing antenna sometimes attracts smaller species that use the light as a reference point in the darkness. Some Pokemon may even follow Lanturn temporarily while navigating deep waters. Another interesting observation involves the way Lanturn rests. When not actively swimming, the Pokemon may hover quietly in place while allowing its fins to stabilize its position. The glowing antenna continues to shine gently even during these moments of rest. Another subtle feature involves the Pokemon's mouth. Lanturn has a wide mouth capable of capturing small fish or other aquatic prey. The mouth opens quickly when the Pokemon strikes. This fast movement helps prevent prey from escaping. Another fascinating behavior associated with Lanturn involves its ability to communicate through light signals. By changing the intensity or rhythm of its glowing antenna, the Pokemon may signal nearby members of its species. These signals help maintain group awareness in dark environments. Another interesting detail about Lanturn involves the way its electrical energy interacts with seawater. Water conducts electricity effectively, allowing electrical pulses to travel outward from the Pokemon. This electrical field can detect movement nearby. Another observation involves Lanturn's role within marine ecosystems. As both predator and navigator of the deep ocean, the Pokemon contributes to maintaining balance among deep water species. By feeding on smaller organisms, Lanturn helps regulate aquatic populations. Another subtle design feature involves the position of the antenna on the Pokemon's head. The antenna is located slightly forward, allowing the glowing orb to illuminate the path ahead while swimming. This placement helps guide the Pokemon through darkness. Another fascinating aspect of Lanturn involves the peaceful rhythm of its movement through the water. The gentle motion of its fins, combined with the soft glow of its antenna, creates a calm and steady presence in the deep ocean. Another interesting observation involves the Pokemon's adaptability. Lanturn can survive in both deep ocean environments and shallower coastal waters. This flexibility allows the Pokemon to travel across wide ocean regions. From a development perspective, Lanturn was designed to represent the mysterious beauty of deep-sea creatures that produce their own light. Many real-world deep ocean animals use bioluminescence to survive in dark environments. The developers use this inspiration to create a Pokemon that feels natural within ocean depths. Somewhere far beneath the surface of the sea, where sunlight fades into darkness, a gentle blue glow may drift quietly through the water. The source of that light is a large fish-like Pokémon swimming slowly through the deep currents. With its lantern shining softly in the dark ocean, the calm Lanturn continues guiding its path through the silent depths. Cleffa is a fairy-type Pokémon introduced in Generation 2 and represents the earliest stage of the evolutionary family that eventually becomes Clefairy and Clefable. Unlike many Pokémon that appear more animal-like, Cleffa has a design that feels mysterious and slightly otherworldly. Its small star-shaped body, soft pink color, and gentle expression give it a peaceful appearance that fits well with the quiet nighttime environments where it is often found. At first glance, Cleffa appears very small and delicate. Its body is rounded and compact, with short arms, small feet, and a curled tuft of hair on the top of its head. One of the most noticeable design features is the star-shaped pattern across its body, which reflects its connection to outer space and celestial themes. This star motif appears in several aspects of Cleffa's design. The shape of its body, the curve of its hair, and the overall softness of its silhouette all suggest a connection to the night sky. Another interesting detail about Cleffa involves the tiny wings on its back. These wings are extremely small and do not allow the Pokémon to fly in the traditional sense. Instead, they may help Cleffa balance itself while moving or jumping. The wings are often folded closely against its body. Despite their small size, they add to the magical appearance of the Pokémon. Another subtle design feature involves Cleffa's ears. The Pokémon has large pointed ears that extend upward from the sides of its head. The inside of the ears is a darker pink color, creating contrast with the lighter tone of the rest of its body. These ears may help the Pokémon detect quiet sounds in the environment. Another fascinating aspect of Cleffa involves its connection to meteorites. Some stories within the Pokémon world suggest that Cleffa may have originally arrived on Earth by traveling inside meteorites. This unusual origin adds an element of mystery to the species. According to these stories, fragments of meteorites may sometimes be found near places where Cleffa gather. Because of this connection, Cleffa is often associated with starry skies and nighttime environments. Another interesting observation involves the way Cleffa behaves during the night. The Pokémon is most active after sunset, when the sky becomes filled with stars. During these hours, Cleffa may gather in quiet clearings where they can see the sky clearly. Groups of Cleffa sometimes watch the stars together. This peaceful behavior reinforces the celestial theme that surrounds the Pokémon. Another subtle detail involves Cleffa's eyes. The Pokémon has large dark eyes that give it a curious and gentle expression. These eyes allow Cleffa to see clearly in low-light conditions, which helps it navigate nighttime environments. The wide eyes also make the Pokémon appear friendly and calm. Another fascinating behavior associated with Cleffa involves its movement. Instead of running quickly like many other Pokémon, Cleffa often moves in small hopping steps. These hops give the Pokémon a light and playful style of motion. The short legs allow it to bounce easily across soft ground. Another interesting feature involves Cleffa's voice. The sound produced by the Pokémon is soft and high-pitched, often resembling a quiet chime or gentle chirp. When several Cleffa gather together, their voices blend into a delicate chorus. These sounds sometimes echo through quiet nighttime fields. Another subtle design element involves the small swirl of hair on the top of Cleffa's head. This curled tuft adds a playful detail to the Pokémon's appearance and helps make its silhouette unique. The swirl also resembles a small cloud or spiral. Another fascinating aspect of Cleffa involves its calm personality. The Pokémon is known for being gentle and curious, rather than aggressive. When encountering unfamiliar Pokemon or trainers, Cleffa may approach cautiously while observing carefully. Once it feels comfortable, it may become more playful. Another interesting observation involves Cleffa's diet. The Pokemon is believed to feed on berries, plant seeds, and other small natural foods found in forest or meadow environments. Because of its small size, Cleffa does not require large amounts of food. It often spends time searching quietly for berries among plants. Another subtle feature involves the shape of Cleffa's feet. The feet are small and rounded, allowing the Pokemon to balance easily while standing or hopping. These feet are well suited for moving across soft ground, such as grass or soil. Another fascinating behavior associated with Cleffa involves the way it reacts to moonlight. On clear nights, when the moon is bright, Cleffa may gather in open areas where the light reaches the ground. During these moments, the Pokemon sometimes appear to dance or move gently together. This behavior has contributed to the mystical reputation surrounding Cleffa. Another interesting detail about Cleffa involves its role in Johto folklore. Some stories suggest that seeing a group of Cleffa under a starry sky is considered a sign of good fortune. Because the Pokemon is connected to meteorites and stars, it is often associated with wishes and dreams. Another observation involves Cleffa's sense of curiosity. The Pokemon sometimes investigates unusual objects, such as shiny stones or fallen leaves. Bright reflections or unusual textures may capture its attention. This curiosity helps the Pokemon learn about its surroundings. Another subtle design feature involves Cleffa's soft body texture. The Pokemon's body appears smooth and slightly rounded, giving it a plush-like appearance. This design emphasizes its gentle and harmless personality. Another fascinating aspect of Cleffa involves its relationship with its evolutionary family. Cleffa eventually evolves into Clefairy, which is larger and more confident. However, the early stage represented by Cleffa reflects the species' youngest and most innocent form. The smaller size and playful movements highlight this stage of development. Another interesting observation involves the way Cleffa reacts to loud noises. Because it prefers peaceful environments, sudden loud sounds may cause the Pokemon to become startled. When frightened, Cleffa may quickly hop away to a quieter location. Another subtle feature involves the Pokemon's balance. Despite its small size and round body, Cleffa is able to move smoothly while hopping or turning. Its small wings may help stabilize these movements. Another fascinating aspect of Cleffa involves the way it gathers with others of its species. When multiple Cleffa meet in one place, they often form small circles or clusters. These gatherings may last for several hours under the night sky. Another interesting detail about Cleffa involves the peaceful atmosphere created by these gatherings. The quiet chirping sounds and gentle movement of the group can make the surrounding area feel calm and serene. Another observation involves Cleffa's role within the ecosystems of the Johto region. By spreading seeds from the berries it eats, the Pokemon contributes to plant growth in forest and meadow environments. This small ecological role helps maintain balance among plant populations. From a development perspective, Cleffa was introduced to expand the concept of baby Pokemon during Generation 2. The developers wanted to create younger forms of existing species that emphasized growth and evolution. Cleffa was designed to feel playful, magical, and connected to the night sky. Somewhere in a quiet meadow beneath a sky full of stars, a small pink Pokemon may be hopping gently across the grass. Its large ears twitch slightly while it gazes upward at the shining constellations. Surrounded by starlight and silence, The peaceful Cleffa continues its quiet nighttime wander through the calm landscapes of Johto. Xatu is a psychic and flying type Pokemon introduced in Generation 2 and is known for its unusual posture and mysterious reputation throughout the Johto region. At first glance, Xatu appears as a tall bird-like Pokemon with a long body, narrow wings, and striking red and green markings across its feathers. One of the most distinctive characteristics of Xatu is the way it often stands completely still for long periods of time, appearing almost like a statue watching the horizon. This stillness is one of the most fascinating aspects of Xatu's behavior. Many trainers and researchers have noticed that the Pokemon can remain motionless for hours while gazing into the distance. This behavior has contributed to the belief that Xatu possesses powerful psychic abilities related to time perception. According to stories within the Pokemon world, Xatu is capable of seeing both the past and the future at the same time. Because of this unusual ability, the Pokemon sometimes appears deeply focused while observing events that have not yet happened. Another noticeable feature of Xatu involves its tall and narrow body structure. Unlike many bird Pokemon that rely on large wings for constant flight, Xatu's wings are relatively small compared to its body. The wings are still strong enough for flight, but the Pokemon often prefers standing quietly instead of flying continuously. Its body shape gives Xatu a calm and steady presence. Another distinctive detail involves the colorful markings across its body. The red and green patterns on Xatu's feathers create a striking visual design that resembles traditional artwork found in certain cultures. These markings extend across the chest, wings, and tail, forming symmetrical shapes. This pattern adds to the mysterious appearance of the Pokemon. Another subtle design element involves Xatu's eyes. The Pokemon has narrow eyes that often appear half-closed. This expression gives the impression that Xatu is calmly observing the world with patience. When the Pokemon becomes more alert, its eyes may open slightly wider. Another fascinating aspect of Xatu involves the feather crest located on the top of its head. This crest extends upward and slightly backward, adding height to the Pokemon's silhouette. The crest feathers move slightly when the wind passes through them. This small movement contrasts with the otherwise still posture of the Pokemon. Another interesting observation involves the shape of Xatu's wings. When folded, the wings lie flat along the sides of its body, making the Pokemon appear almost rectangular in shape. This folded posture contributes to the statue-like appearance that many people associate with Xatu. When the wings spread during flight, they reveal a much wider wingspan. Another subtle feature involves the small claws on Xatu's feet. These claws allow the Pokemon to grip tree branches or rocky surfaces securely. Because Xatu often stands still for long periods, strong balance is important. The claws help maintain stability while perched. Another fascinating behavior associated with Xatu involves its tendency to watch the sunrise and sunset. In some parts of Johto, Xatu can be seen standing quietly on cliffs or tall structures while facing the horizon. During these moments, the Pokemon appears completely focused. This behavior has led some observers to believe that Xatu is observing changes in time itself. Another interesting detail about Xatu involves its psychic abilities. The Pokemon can use psychic energy to sense disturbances in its surroundings. These abilities allow it to detect emotional changes or approaching danger. Because of these abilities, Xatu is sometimes described as having a deep awareness of its environment. Another observation involves the Pokemon's calm personality. Xatu rarely shows sudden excitement or panic. Instead, it tends to react slowly and thoughtfully to events around it. This calm demeanor reinforces the impression that the Pokémon is constantly reflecting on what it sees. Another subtle design feature involves the color contrast between Xatu's body and its wings. The main body is mostly green, while the wings contain bright red patterns. This combination creates a visually striking appearance when the wings spread during flight. Another fascinating aspect of Xatu involves its connection to ancient cultures within the Pokémon world. Some historical records describe Xatu as a Pokémon respected by certain civilizations because of its supposed ability to see the future. In some areas, statues of Xatu have been placed near temples or sacred sites. These statues reflect the belief that the Pokémon serves as a watcher of time. Another interesting observation involves the sound of Xatu's cry. The Pokémon produces a soft and echoing call that resembles the cry of a distant bird. This sound often travels across open landscapes where the Pokémon lives. Another subtle detail involves the shape of Xatu's tail feathers. The tail extends downward in a straight line when the Pokémon is standing upright. These feathers help stabilize the body during flight. Another fascinating behavior associated with Xatu involves its flight pattern. When the Pokémon finally takes flight, it does so smoothly and quietly. The wings move in slow, controlled motions as it glides across the sky. Unlike some bird Pokémon that flap rapidly, Xatu often prefers gentle, gliding movements. Another interesting detail about Xatu involves its diet. The Pokémon is believed to feed on fruits, seeds, and small insects found in forest environments. Its long beak allows it to pick food easily from branches or the ground. Another observation involves the way Xatu interacts with other Pokémon. Because of its calm nature, it rarely engages in unnecessary conflicts. Instead, it tends to observe quietly while other Pokémon move around it. Another subtle feature involves the position of Xatu's head while standing. The Pokémon often tilts its head slightly downward while staring forward. This posture adds to the impression that it is deeply focused on something far away. Another fascinating aspect of Xatu involves its reputation among trainers. Some trainers seek out Xatu because of its powerful psychic abilities and calm personality. Others are drawn to the Pokémon's mysterious connection to time. Another interesting observation involves the way Xatu reacts to storms or strong winds. When weather conditions become harsh, the Pokémon may retreat to sheltered areas such as cliffs or forest interiors. There it waits quietly until the weather becomes calm again. Another subtle design element involves the symmetry of Xatu's markings. The patterns across its body appear carefully balanced, creating a design that feels intentional and meaningful. Another fascinating aspect of Xatu involves its role within the ecosystems of the Johto region. As a bird Pokémon capable of long-distance flight, Xatu can travel across large territories while searching for food. This movement helps distribute seeds across different areas. From a development perspective, Xatu was designed to reflect themes of mysticism and ancient symbolism. The developers drew inspiration from cultural artwork and spiritual imagery associated with birds and prophecy. This inspiration helped create a Pokémon that feels mysterious and thoughtful. Somewhere high on a quiet cliff overlooking the Johto landscape, a tall green bird Pokémon may be standing perfectly still. Its eyes remain fixed on the distant horizon while the wind moves gently across its feathers. Watching silently as time continues to pass, the patient Xatu remains a quiet guardian of the sky. Azumarill is a water and fairy-type Pokémon introduced in Generation 2, and is the final stage of the evolutionary family that begins with Marill. At first glance, Azumarill appears as a round blue Pokémon with long ears, a white belly pattern, and a thin tail that ends in a blue sphere. Its soft appearance and playful movements make it one of the more recognizable water Pokémon associated with lakes and rivers throughout the Johto region. One of the most noticeable features of Azumarill is the round shape of its body. The Pokémon has a large circular torso that gives it a sturdy and balanced structure while swimming. This body shape helps Azumarill remain stable in water even when currents become stronger. The rounded body also helps with buoyancy. Because of this buoyancy, Azumarill can float comfortably on the surface of lakes or rivers for long periods of time. Another distinctive detail about Azumarill involves the white pattern across its stomach. This pattern forms a rounded oval shape that contrasts with the bright blue color of the rest of the Pokémon's body. The color contrast makes Azumarill visually distinctive even from a distance. The white belly also reflects light when the Pokémon is swimming near the water's surface. Another interesting feature involves Azumarill's long ears. These ears extend upward and slightly outward from the top of the Pokémon's head. The ears are flexible and capable of detecting subtle vibrations in the air. When Azumarill listens carefully, its ears may tilt slightly in different directions. This movement helps the Pokémon detect sounds from multiple angles. Another subtle design element involves the small whisker-like markings near Azumarill's mouth. These markings give the Pokémon a gentle expression and emphasize the shape of its round face. The face itself appears friendly and calm, which contributes to the Pokémon's peaceful reputation. Another fascinating aspect of Azumarill involves its tail. The tail is thin and flexible, extending behind the Pokémon before ending in a round blue ball. This tail is not simply decorative. The tail helps Azumarill maintain balance while swimming. By adjusting the position of the tail, the Pokémon can change direction smoothly in the water. Another interesting observation involves the texture of Azumarill's fur. Although the Pokémon spends much of its time in water, its fur remains smooth and slightly water-resistant. This helps prevent the body from becoming waterlogged while swimming. The fur also helps retain warmth in cooler environments. Another subtle feature involves Azumarill's feet. The Pokémon has small, rounded feet that allow it to walk comfortably on land, as well as swim in water. While Azumarill is most comfortable in aquatic environments, it can travel across land without difficulty. Another fascinating behavior associated with Azumarill involves its swimming ability. The Pokémon is an excellent swimmer, capable of moving quickly through rivers and lakes. Its powerful legs and balanced body allow it to glide smoothly through water. Azumarill often swims, using steady, rhythmic motions. These movements help conserve energy while traveling long distances. Another interesting detail about Azumarill involves its hearing ability. The long ears are not only useful for detecting sounds in the air, but may also help sense vibrations through the water. When submerged, Azumarill can detect movement nearby. This awareness helps the Pokémon avoid danger or locate prey. Another observation involves the Pokémon's diet. Azumarill feeds on aquatic plants, small fish, and insects found near water. Its strong jaws allow it to chew through plant stems or capture small prey quickly. Because of this varied diet, Azumarill is considered an omnivore. Another subtle design feature involves the round blue ball at the end of Azumarill's tail. This ball is often used as a flotation aid. When swimming with younger Pokémon, Azumarill may allow them to hold onto the tail while crossing water. This behavior reflects the nurturing nature of the species. Another fascinating aspect of Azumarill involves its playful personality. The Pokémon often enjoys splashing in shallow water or bouncing lightly while moving across grassy areas. This playful behavior makes Azumarill appear cheerful and energetic. Many trainers appreciate this friendly temperament. Another interesting observation involves Azumarill's cry. The Pokemon produces a soft chirping call that echoes gently across lakes or rivers. When several Azumarill call out together, the sound blends into a calm chorus. Another subtle detail involves the Pokemon's reaction to sunlight. Azumarill often enjoys resting near the edges of lakes where sunlight warms the ground. During these moments, the Pokemon may relax quietly while watching the water. Another fascinating behavior associated with Azumarill involves its protective instincts. The Pokemon sometimes watches over smaller aquatic Pokemon in its environment. If danger approaches, Azumarill may place itself between the threat and weaker creatures. This behavior reflects its cooperative nature. Another interesting detail about Azumarill involves its connection to the fairy typing that was later associated with its evolutionary line. This typing highlights the gentle and supportive personality that the Pokemon often displays. The fairy classification emphasizes themes of kindness and protection. Another observation involves the way Azumarill interacts with trainers. The Pokemon tends to form strong emotional bonds with those who care for it regularly. Once trust is established, Azumarill often responds eagerly to commands and enjoys spending time with its trainer. Another subtle feature involves the shape of Azumarill's nose. The small, triangular nose sits at the center of the Pokemon's face and helps detect scents carried through the air. This sense of smell helps the Pokemon locate food near water. Another fascinating aspect of Azumarill involves the way it communicates with others of its species. Gentle calls and body movements may signal directions or warnings within groups. Groups of Azumarill sometimes gather near calm lakes. Another interesting observation involves the Pokemon's ability to remain underwater for extended periods. Azumarill can hold its breath while swimming beneath the surface as it searches for food. Its strong lungs allow it to dive comfortably. Another subtle design element involves the symmetry of Azumarill's markings. The color patterns across its body appear balanced and simple, reinforcing the Pokemon's friendly and approachable appearance. Another fascinating aspect of Azumarill involves its role within aquatic ecosystems. By feeding on plants and small animals, the Pokemon helps regulate populations within freshwater environments. This role contributes to maintaining ecological balance. From a development perspective, Azumarill was designed to expand upon the friendly appearance introduced by Marill. The developers wanted the final evolution to appear slightly stronger while maintaining the soft and cheerful design. The result is a Pokemon that feels both capable and welcoming. Somewhere along the calm edge of a quiet lake in the Johto region, a round blue Pokemon may be floating peacefully on the surface of the water. Its long ears sway gently as the breeze moves across the lake. With soft ripples spreading outward around it, the relaxed Azumarill continues enjoying the quiet waters of Johto.